The Mindful Life Practice.
Just so that I can have an archive of all of these. Okay, so anyway. So if you've been practicing with me since we began this, which was 6 days ago, you'll know that every day I am kind of focusing the practice on a different chakra or a different energy center. And today we're up in the 6th chakra, which is Ajna chakra, which is all about the mind. So I'm going to invite you, if you want to go with this intention for your practice, to set an intention of being present. I'm present in this moment with whatever is. Or if you have some other intention or something else that brought you to your yoga mat. Maybe it's just an hour of your day to yourself. Maybe it's to get some flexibility. I'd like you to acknowledge that now. Let's slowly start to deepen our inhales in through the nose. Exhales the nose. Sending our breath all the way into the belly and into the heart. And then exhaling, emptying. Maybe taking particular attention to just soften the tension in the forehead, soften the space between the eyebrows. Before we start practicing, I'm going to teach you a pranayama, a breathing exercise. Now, I don't do a lot of pranayama in my regular yoga practices. I think sometimes I'm like self-conscious that they'll seem a bit weird. I'm liking teaching it through Zoom though, because it feels a bit less intimidating. So we're gonna do a breath work today called Nadi Shodhana. And what this is alternate nostril breathing. So you breathe in through one nostril and then out through the next. And then you breathe in through the same one and then out through the next. And to do this, we're gonna create a mudra. You're gonna use your thumb and your index finger. You can look at me. And we start with blocking off the left nostril and then inhaling through the right. And then you block off the right nostril and exhale through the left. And then you reverse. So inhale through the right, the left. Block the left nostril, exhale through the right. And then so on, inhaling through the right. Blocking the right nostril, exhaling through the left. If that mudra you made with your hands isn't working, you can just use whatever finger. If this doesn't feel good for your nostrils, you can also just breathe normally. what this practice does is it starts to release our stress and fatigue. And it starts to lower the heart rate. The right nostril is kind of like the yang energy. The left nostril is to the yin energy. So why don't we take 3 more rounds like this? This is a really nice practice to kind of balance the mind and prepare for our more yin style or meditative practice. And then after you do 1 more round, just come back to normal, take a normal breath in. And then a normal breath out. Normal breath in. And then a normal breath out. We're gonna come all the way into our first posture. We're gonna take a Sphinx posture. So you're gonna come onto your elbows, coming all the way down onto your belly. Land your elbows underneath your shoulders and just rest your palms. So this is a heart opening shape. And when we're in our daily lives, we're often like slumping forward. And so the Sphinx can kind of counter that natural energy. If it's more comfortable for you, you can have a pillow and you can place it underneath your chest or place it underneath your elbows. And then just kind of settle into the stretch. So throughout our practice, we're going to be progressively holding our shapes for a little bit longer each time. So this is the first of our yin poses. So we're going to hold it for just about 2 minutes. There's 3 principles of Yin Yoga. The first is to find your personal edge. And it's really important that you're able to define what the edge is. It's not a place where you're in pain. It's not like your deepest expression. It's just a comfortable spot where you can stay a while. Maybe you're moving slightly out of your comfort zone, but you're not in pain. The second principle of Yin Yoga is to stay a while. So we might have this urge to move, to check our phones. But the goal of Yin is to stay in stillness, to stay with that discomfort. Just gonna check to make sure that I'm on the spotlight view. There. And then the third principle of Yin Yoga is to stay a while. So even if you have this urge to fidget or to move or to drop out of this shape, see if you can hold it. We're almost through with our 2 minutes. Let's just take 3 more breaths. And after one more inhale, you're gonna exhale, come all the way down, and we're gonna take it into a crocodile pose. So you're gonna land both palms on the mat and then rest your forehead. So this is an interesting pose. I don't often teach this pose. I actually don't think I've ever taught it in a yoga class. This is like the opposite of a shavasana, right? We're on our navel. And what I like about this pose is that our forehead is resting down. And so it gives us an opportunity to ground down, to center. And that grounding energy can kind of calm the mind. So let's stay here for one more breath. And then just take your palms underneath your shoulders. You're gonna come all the way up through a table. And then sit your hips back onto your heels and come into a child's pose. So your forehead is resting, your arms are heavy. Let your hips be resting on your heels. And again, tap into that kind of grounding energy. Bringing the energy downwards. We'll stay in this posture for 3 minutes. Maybe with each inhale, feeling your back body lifting slightly. And then with each exhale, your body is sinking into the shape. See if you can use your breath to bring yourself into the present moment. So in our everyday life, normally our thoughts are in the forefront of the mind, and our breath is in the background. And in our yoga practice, we use our breath to reverse that. Our breath takes kind of like the center stage in the mind. The thoughts drop into the background. If you're having trouble, your mind is wandering away, maybe even practicing simple awareness, like on the inhale, I'm here. And the exhale, now. Inhale here. Exhale now. Inhale here. Exhale now. Let's take just about 5 more rounds of breath in this shape. And after your 5th round of breath, you're just going to slowly roll up to seated on the heels. And kind of lengthen up through your spine and take an inhale. And then take an exhale. Our third yoga pose that we're going to move into, it's called a dangling pose. This is one of my favorite yin poses. I do it in like every class I teach, I think. I love it because it feels like the weight on your shoulders is just kind of like rolling off your back and releasing. So it's just another word for a forward fold. You're going to come up onto your feet and bend your knees a lot and let your torso rest on your thighs. And maybe you grab your elbows, let your head dangle. When I teach this in the studio, I often cue students to like use blocks and bolsters underneath them for support if they want. So if you're feeling like this is like a bit too far of a reach for you, maybe you have a chair nearby and you can just like rest your head on the chair. The whole point is just kind of to get this forward folding action and let the blood flow reverse so that it's coming down into the brain, boosting the mood, and then just kind of having a bit more clarity. So the third eye, it is, when it's out of balance, it is when we start kind of like making up stories in our heads. And I think a lot of us in this social isolation, we spend a lot of times by ourselves in our apartment. And I know last week I was kind of going crazy, like Googling about coronavirus and on CNN all day, and you start kind of spiraling and having all these worries and anxieties. And when our third eye is balanced, we're able to kind of just see things as they are, instead of clouded by kind of all these thoughts and stories we're telling. I don't know if that makes sense. So in our practice today, we're trying to balance this area of the body and kind of bring a bit of clarity to the mind. Bring a bit of peace to the mind. Knowing that life is happening, right? We can't control what's happening in the world right now. All we can really control is our reaction to it. And stay in this dangling pose for like 5 more breaths. Then after that 5th round of breath, let's just slowly roll up to stand. This is the only time you're gonna stand in this practice. Bringing your shoulders all the way up. Bringing your head to balance on both shoulders. Letting your whole spine realign. And then just take a full breath in. And then take a full breath out. One more full breath in. And then full breath out. And I'm going to give you guys a minute to come into what's called a rebound pose. So you can either come to lay on your navel, like in that crocodile. Maybe you lay on your back. Maybe you come into that child's pose. The whole purpose or the point of the rebound is to just kind of let the experience sink in. Notice if anything's shifted or moved in the body. Anything's shifted in the mind as an effect of that pose. Let's take one more breath in your rebound. And then just slowly roll all the way up into seated. Hope you guys can still hear me well. I'm looking at the camera and a lot of the screens look frozen, but anyway. So we're gonna come into a one-legged forward fold next. And you're gonna lengthen out through your right leg. And you can either take your left sole of foot to the inside of the right thigh, or this is another option. You can take your left foot, cross it all the way across, and your left knee will come to stack directly on top of the right thigh. So you're like on the outer edge of the left foot. So this is quite a deep variation. You can be right here. That's perfectly a great place to be, okay? Just inhaling, lengthening through your spine. And then as you exhale, hinge forward and maybe propping yourself up with a pillow. Or maybe not, maybe your body can come all the way down onto the thigh. Now let's stay in this pose for 4 minutes this time. So 4 minutes on the right side, 4 minutes on the left. I've chosen a lot of forward folds for this practice because forward folding kind of gives us this opportunity to drop inward, to turn inward. As opposed to our back bending, which is kind of expansive and opening. See if you can let go of the skin in the forehead, the skin around the eyes. If there's any tension there. We've been in this forward fold for about 2 minutes. We're going to stay for 2 minutes more. If your mind is wandering away, maybe coming back to that here and now. Here and now. Take 10 more breaths. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. Be about 3 more inhales. And just when you're ready, slowly curling all the way up. And let's switch directly to the opposite side this time. So we're gonna do our rebound after we've done both sides. So your left leg is extended. Either your right foot comes to the inside of the right thigh, the left thigh, or crosses on top on the outer edge of the foot. And then taking your inhale, lengthening through the heart. And then as you exhale, slowly fold forward. Remember that you don't have to go super deep. You don't have to go crazy at the beginning. We are going to be here for 4 minutes. So just slowly let gravity do the work. Make sure you're coming to an edge that is sustainable. So a place where you can rest for 4 minutes. I think the hamstrings are an area of the body that gather a lot of tension in our daily lives, especially if we're kind of at home, trapped in our apartment all day, which all 15 of us are. Just kind of feel what's coming up and releasing out of this. And try to be present with all of it. Being present with the discomfort. If it's particularly uncomfortable, know that this will pass. We're not going to be in this forward fold forever. Just about 2 more minutes. I think one of the most challenging aspects of our yin practice is that we have to stay still, and we have to stay still and accept whatever is. For me, when I started practicing yoga, it became like almost like resilience training. Once I realized that I was capable of doing hard things, of holding these hard poses on my yoga mat, I was able to transfer this skill and apply it off my life, off my mat, in my life, I mean. Ten more breaths on this side. Almost through with this one. And after your 10th round of breath, just make your way up, coming all the way back up to upright, uncrossing the leg. And then decide what rebound you want to take. So maybe you come all the way onto your mat, finding your Shavasana. Maybe you're in your child's pose. Maybe you're on your belly in your crocodile. It's like a mini Shavasana, just about 60 seconds. To observe how your body's responding and reacting to that shape. Take one more round of breath there. And then just slowly bring your way all the way back up to seated. This is going to be 2 more poses. So we're gonna come into what's called a deer twist. So you're gonna bring your, I don't know if you can see me, your right knee is gonna be bent and your right sole of foot is like almost on the left kneecap, and then your left knee is behind you. It's like you're making 2 90-degree angles with your legs. And then you're gonna slowly start to walk your body forward and then start to roll your body down onto a pillow or onto your mat. And if it's comfortable for you, send your gaze in the opposite direction, so it's over towards the right. So this is quite a deep twist for the spine. If right away your spine doesn't feel good here, you can always just come back up into a normal spinal twist. So on your back body with your knees to one side. But if you're comfortable here, let's just stay a while. Letting your energy ground down. Trying to balance the energy. Knowing that when we balance the energy in the center of the mind, we we become a bit more intuitive. Connected to the collective consciousness, and we can see things more clearly. I think taking a spinal twist towards the end of the practice is like a super nice thing for the back body, because I often visualize like almost like a wet washcloth. And as you're twisting through the spine, you're like wringing out the wet washcloth, and all the spinal discs are kind of compressing. And then any tension that you've accumulated along the spine is just kind of compressing and releasing. If your mind is wandering away, all you need to do is just gently coax it to come back. You don't need to get into a war with your brain, fighting with it to stay in the present moment. Just whenever a trail of thoughts takes you away, just kind of let the thoughts almost be like clouds passing by. You are the sky, and everything else is just the weather. Just here for one more minute. Just take one more breath. And then slowly start to peel your way up. We're going to move directly into the twist on the opposite side. Okay, so your right knee comes to the inside of your left sole of foot, your right foot stays. You're making those two 90-degree angles. And then slowly start to turn your way towards your pillow and bring your body down onto the mat. And if it works for your neck, you can gaze in the opposite direction, so over to the left. We're going to be here on this side for just 5 more minutes. Our practice today was pretty meditative. One of the things that I often tell in my yoga classes, one of the stories I often tell was on the first night of the first yoga teacher training I was ever on. It was in 2014. I remember coming into the room and our yoga teacher told us that we were going to meditate. And I remember as all of my classmates seemed to sit perfectly still in their meditation with their spine lengthened and their shoulders relaxed and their head balanced. I was looking around the room in panic, wondering if I was the only person that didn't know how to meditate. And I've since come to two conclusions about that experience. The first is that there's no proper way to meditate. There's no such thing. Everyone does it differently. You're not doing it wrong. And the second thing is that the reason why I wasn't able to meditate was because I kept thinking about how I wasn't able to meditate. And it's kind of like the theme or the essence of our whole practice. Our brains are powerful and we have self-talk, and our brains can tell us that we're not flexible or we're not able to meditate, or, can even go as far sometimes in my own head. I can be thinking I'm not a good person. And one of the key things we learn from our yoga practice when we're sitting in stillness and we're breathing and we're bringing grounded energy into the mind, can almost start to see clearly what is and what isn't. What is the event that's happening to me, and what is my reaction to it? Can I separate these two things? So let's stay into this pose just for 5 more rounds of breath. And we are ready. We've made it to the final Shavasana. So you're going to slowly peel your way up, make your way into your shape. Maybe resting the heels, letting the toes drop. The palms can be on the navel. Maybe resting flat, hands up. Your head can be on a pillow if it's comfortable. We're just going to be in our Shavasana for about 6 or so minutes. As we drop into stillness, I want to read you guys something. I apologize if you were in my yoga class yesterday. You heard this already. This is an email that a teacher in China, she sent to my principal in Abu Dhabi, and he forwarded it to the whole staff, and made me feel a little emotional. I wanted to share it with you. She says, "We are just finishing our 7th week of e-learning. 7 weeks of being housebound, 7 weeks of uncertainty. We are healthy, we are happy, we are humbled. Most restaurants and shopping centers are now open. Life is coming back to our city. And as we watch the rest of the world begin their time inside, here are some of my reflections on the last 7 weeks. Number 1, accept that you have no control over the situation. Let go of any thoughts trying to plan too much for the next month or so. Things change so fast. Don't be angry, don't be annoyed at the system. Anxiety goes down, you make the best of the situation, whatever that might be for you. Accept that this is what it is. Things will get easier. Try not to listen, read, or watch too much of the news. It will drive you crazy. There is a thing as too much. The sense of community I have felt during this time is incredible. I could choose who I wanted to spend my energy on, who I wanted to call, who I wanted to message, who I wanted to connect with. I found the quality of my relationships improved. Appreciate this enforced downtime. When do you ever have the time like this? I will miss it when we go back to the fast-paced speed of the real world. Time goes by fast. I still haven't picked up the ukulele I planned to learn. There are box set TV shows I still haven't watched yet. As a teacher, the relationships I have built with my students only continue to grow. I have loved seeing how independent they are, filming themselves to respond to tasks, while also learning essential life skills like balance, risk-taking, problem solving that even we as adults are still learning. And last, you learn to appreciate the little things. Sunshine through the window, flowers blossoming, and being able to enjoy coffee in a cafe. To those that are just beginning this journey, you will get through it. Listen to what you are told, follow the rules, and look out for each other. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Give your fingers and your toes a little wake up wiggle. Run a nice long stretch through the body from your fingers all the way through your toes. Take your knees into your chest. Give yourself a nice little hug. In this hug, just acknowledge your effort. Acknowledge the fact that you showed up for this practice and you made time out of your day when you could have just kept watching Netflix or whatever you were doing. So thank yourself for that. And then we're going to slowly make our way up into a seated shape. Take the palms into the heart center. Lengthen up through the spine and soften the shoulders. We're going to finish our practice with an Om sound. And to get there, we will inhale, exhale, and then inhale through to make the Om. Taking a breath in. And then a breath out. And a breath in. We close with an intention, an ancient intention, perhaps the original intention. It's been passed from heart to heart, year after year. That our yoga practice remain steady, that our efforts be continuous, that our yoga be of service and of benefit to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free. May the thoughts and actions of each of our lives contribute towards this. Om Shanti Shanti.
The Mindful Life Practice.